We are joined right now by one of the most renowned analysts in the daily fantasy community, joining us from DraftKings. Yeah, wow. Let's welcome in Reed Fowler.
Hey! Wow, what an intro.
Analyst.
I know, just to stop there.
As one of the renowned fantasy analysts, I got to ask you, what are the biggest tips when you're doing daily fantasy?
Yeah, so
what would you tell us and our audience?
Right, daily is way different than season long, right? You're playing matchups. It's obviously week to week. Season long, you're kind of playing your studs, guys you drafted early, first or second round. You can't really go away from those guys. But in daily, you got to play those matchups and some strategies too, like leaving salary on the table. So you have $50,000 to spend.
Right.
If you spend about $49,500, that's going to differentiate your lineup from other people, because a lot of people, the common people or just everyone in general, they'll look at spending all of that money right up to that $50,000 mark, and you're going to have a lot of lineups or a lot of players that are going to have duplicate lineups in terms of some of the studs, right? And that kind of goes to the next point, is your core players that you really like the Chris Carsons this week, who we'll talk about, or the Lamar Jacksons, Pat Mahomes last year. You're playing those guys no matter what, despite the ownership. So there's some key areas, and leaving guys on the table, again, we'll get to that in a little bit. Maybe not playing some guys who are supposed to be heavily owned or are supposed to do good. Maybe not playing those bad players.
Okay, so I know there's snow delays right now, so there's some kids that are sitting at home, some young teenagers. Yeah. I'm not saying you guys should go ahead and get involved in this, but for those adults that are sitting at home like, man, I need one quick lick, man. I need to make $1 million.
Quick action.
$1 million.
$1 million.
Right? Get rich quick.
That's it.
Let's take a look at last week's perfect lineup that won $1 million.
I know.
$1 million.
Somebody want
All right, break this down for me, Eckler.
Right, so I mean, if you look at just this lineup, right? I mean,
Anderson.
Right, exactly. Robbie Anderson. Robbie Anderson was a guy that a lot of us looked at in that game in Miami. You play everyone against Miami, and you play guys on Miami like Fitzpatrick, something like Devontae Parker. Sadly got hurt.
I'm sure he was cheap.
Yeah, he was really cheap, and so you play those guys. Robbie Anderson, maybe not a great matchup tomorrow. Again, that's not on the main slate at 1 p.m. on Sunday. But if you look at that with Robbie Anderson, that's good chalk that you wanted to play just because of that matchup. The bad chalk that I was talking about, what you didn't see was Bilal Powell. A lot of us had Bilal Powell, or a lot of analysts looked at Le'Veon Bell, that late scratch or that Friday injury report or his illness came up, and so now everyone was scrambling. Bilal Powell was the talk of the town for 2 days. So 20%, 30% ownership in a lot of these leagues. If you look at that lineup, that guy doesn't have, or this person doesn't have Bilal Powell. So staying away from that bad chalk leaves you away from that. He had a decent game. He had about 80 yards, 14 carries, but didn't get that touchdown. So he didn't get, in terms of his ownership and what it was at, he would have needed to get that for you. And just, I mean, the stacks here: Jimmy Garoppolo, Emmanuel Sanders. I mean, that game moved down. I mean, that point total moved down towards the end of the week, and so a lot of us didn't think, hey, look, that was going to be a 90 total point game. Right. But getting Jimmy Garoppolo and Emmanuel Sanders, who's fit perfectly in that system. I mean, you know, Nate, like, you come into a new team like 3 weeks, and he's already performing fantastic. So you have a lot of these guys, A.J. Brown and Ryan Tannehill. I mean, cooking, absolutely cooking. I mean, maybe getting away from Adam Gase was a good thing for like Devontae Parker and some of these guys like Fitzpatrick. We see these guys now playing really well, and A.J. Brown's been a stud.
A ton of rushing yards for him too.
Yeah, Reed, it's kind of a melancholy time of year for some fantasy people. If you didn't make the playoffs, if you got knocked out of the playoffs, what does DraftKings have going? Keep the party going. Like, let's have another. What do we do?
$1 million. Okay. I mean, every single week. So, like, if you're like me, right? I mean, you're either in last place or you're bounced out of the playoffs really early. You played some of these guys, potentially like a Marlon Mack. Come on, Marlon. But no, he's got a touchdown against Tampa Bay. But look, every week you have this $1 million, right? Yeah. It's fantastic. We have guys in our shows that we do that come on and tell us about their lineups. You guys remember Jonas Gray, like 3 or 4 years ago?
Against the Colts, baby.
I mean, that guy, we had those guys on. And so you get these contests, even in the playoffs and leading up to the Super Bowl, you can win $1 million. And so even after the playoffs are done, even after if you win the championship in your league, in your home league, and you still want more, you want to keep that going, it's all the way up to the Super Bowl. We have just contests.
It's one person, the best lineup. Is that how it is? Gets $1 million.
The perfect lineup.
Perfect, yeah. So the top person, and I mean, I haven't seen this in NFL, but PGA, which is what I also do, you see sometimes people like tie at the top, which, again, if you're splitting a mill like you're happy,
Okay.
but you're kind of sad
Yeah,
because you
of
didn't
course.
get the full mill.
Jordan
right?
Spieth killed me.
Exactly. So
Reed Fowler guy, but Ricky Fowler.
Ricky Fowler. Great social media.
DJ Singh.
But like, I mean, leading up to that, you have so many contests, and it really that kind of goes into the strategy as well. Is do you want to play these huge GPP tournaments, right, where you're entering guys can enter 150 lineups, or sometimes you get those single entry guys. So there's a ton of strategy out there, a lot of different moving parts.
Do you have the same strategy week to week? Because I've filled out one for Thanksgiving. It's like putting together a puzzle. It's very fun, and then you get to watch that day plan out. So I used a different strategy this week, and would you mind looking at it?
Absolutely.
Okay, let's go up here and I'll show you
All
what I
right.
did. Okay, so given the salary cap, and this is for just the 1 p.m. games, in week 15, I decided to go spend on guys that I just know are going to go off, like Kenny Golladay with no Marvin Jones there.
Yep.
I like him because no one's been more generous to opposing wide receivers. You're talking matchups. The Bucs will gift him points. So he was worth this hefty price tag. My other $7,000 guy is Chris Carson. No Rashad Penny.
Right.
And the Panthers have allowed more touchdowns than any team in the NFL. So then I decided just to sort of build around those guys. Is that an okay strategy?
Absolutely. So what you're doing is you're going with the good chalk, right? I mean, both these guys at 75.
They're going to be heavily owned, though.
Going to be heavily owned, especially Marvin Jones, that injury report coming out early in the week. A lot of people are going to be on it. If it came out, let's say Friday or Saturday when those final injury reports come out, maybe a late switch like what we saw with Bilal Powell, right? You might have gotten that at lower ownership. But again, Chris Carson, no Rashad Penny. This guy's averaging over 20 touches, 80% of the snaps when Penny is out. He's going to get the bulk of the carries, and that's what you want, right? You want volume in fantasy football.
I think he could end up as a top 5 wide receiver right now. He's just always unheralded because he plays for Chicago. But trust me, Trubisky's getting him the ball. He's averaging 10 targets a game. I went with Eckler. I thought maybe I'm chasing fantasy points from his 200 total yards last week, but he does it even when Melvin's on the field. He's doing it on the ground and through the air, and that was a steal for me at 6,700.
Yep.
Darius Slayton was my biggest bargain. It doesn't matter who's at quarterback. Also, he is killing it, 100 yards plus and 2 touchdowns in the last 4 weeks with 2 different quarterbacks, and the Dolphins are on the docket, so I gotta love that. I think Phillip Rivers will make my Vikings defense look good here. He'll throw them the ball a couple of times, and then left at a bargain price still. I don't know if the salary cap wasn't adjusted yet. Ryan Tannehill, who is the second highest fantasy quarterback this year in per game fantasy points.
Yeah, I mean, week 15, when we were going to talk about Ryan Tannehill, did any of us think that Ryan Tannehill was going to be a guy that we were talking about week 15, even in like season-long fantasy that we're starting? But what I like right here is Chris Conley.
Yeah, this is what I did with my spare change.
Yeah, against Oakland, right? Oakland has given up the most 20-plus receptions, plays in the entire NFL, and he's that big play guy.
He quietly has 3 games of 80 or more yards. So if I can get 10 points out of him, that's worth it for $3,600.
DJ Chark, too.
This is, oh yeah, DJ, totally, absolutely. So you kind of like my lineup?
Absolutely. I mean, this one, too. I mean, look. Tyler Higbee, he's getting a ton of volume. And again, fantasy football, you want volume, especially for running backs and tight end. If you're getting targets, that's all you can ask for. Touchdowns is a plus, but how many tight ends can we trust this season? Not a lot, right? Even the top guys like our Zach Ertz's or Hunter Henrys have let us down.
But by now, that's the best position to figure out where to play him in any given matchup. The tight ends versus the Arizona Cardinals is the best one. Tyler Higbee coming off 200-yard games. We have to keep our eyes on Gerald Everett, but if he doesn't go, Tyler Higbee should ball again.
Well, and then Brandon Cooks, where has he been? Right,
I feel good about
Reed, is this the $1 million lineup?
That's it.
He's out of here.
There's nothing wrong with this?
You guys better be nice to me.
She's out of here. She's going to go to Hawaii.
Wow. Hey.
Thanks so much for being here. DraftKings, of course, the official daily fantasy partner of the NFL. This Sunday, new players can play for free?
Yeah.
For $1 million? Don't just casually say that. That's crazy. With your first deposit, of course. So download the app and sign up using promo code GMFB. There's my lineup. Don't copy off of me, Will Selva. Don't you dare.
Wait, I can't? Ah, come on, Kay. Just come on, a little hint. A little bit. That's all.
I'll get you that Vlade Divac jersey you've always wanted if I win.
Thank you very much. I need a Doug Christie one as well. Kay, we all know Darren Sproles is one of your favorite players. He's the password after all. Well, due to a rash of injuries on the offensive side of the ball in Philly, you may have to change that password from 43-43 to 35-35. Boston Scott, a former practice squad player who goes 5'6", 203 pounds, had a breakout game against the Giants on Monday night, carrying the ball 10 times for 59 yards and a touch to go with 69 yards receiving. Stout running back, reminding many of Sproles for his stature and play, including head coach Doug Peterson.
I think the comparison is good, between the two, because, body types and size and speed and athleticism and all that are relatively the same. And it was good to see Boston get in the game and do the things he did, honestly. And it just gave us as an offense, there was a change of pace. There was a quickness there. And that's just Boston. It takes nothing away from the other guys, but something we continue to, to implement into our game plan and find ways to utilize him, in the offense.
Chargers players, including Joey Bosa, surprising more than 100 students at an elementary school in Inglewood who took part in essay competition with bikes purchased by the team. This is the 15th straight year the Chargers and Bikes for Kids Foundation have partnered to distribute new bikes to deserving students. Very cool there. Ravens tight end Hayden Hurst is cool as well, doing what he called a hockey celebration after his 61-yard touchdown against the Bills, slamming into the boards while also slamming into a fan, giving him a bloody lip and spilling his beer. Can't do that. Hurst reached out on social media to find that fan and apologized to him. Hurst got a hold of him and is sending him an autographed jersey to make up for it. But Hurst, who is a hockey fan, says there'll be more Crash the Board sellies coming up in his future. So watch out, front rows. And watch out, there is plenty more Good Morning Football coming up in your future, including it wouldn't be Wednesday without Peter breaking down the most intriguing play calls of the week on Cool Plays, Bro. Shriggs, GMFB, we're all back.